I pulled into my parents' driveway on my 21st birthday and found them both standing there, grinning like they'd just won the lottery. My father clapped his hands together and announced they'd sold all my tools. Over $15,000 worth of professional equipment I'd spent 3 years collecting for my custom motorcycle shop. They put the money in the family fund for Trevor's college. I told them those tools were my future. Dad said I'd get new ones someday. I looked him dead in the eye and said, "You just sold my future." He straightened up, crossed his arms, and replied, "You live under my roof." I turned and walked away without another word. I didn't say anything else to them that day. I went straight to my room, closed the door, and sat on the edge of my bed staring at the wall until the sun went down. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, exactly. From something deeper. A kind of betrayal that felt like someone had reached inside my chest and ripped something vital out. Around midnight, when the house finally went quiet, I started packing. I didn't have much that mattered. Clothes went into a duffel bag. Important documents. My laptop. My grandfather's watch. That watch was the only thing of real value I had left now. Grandpa gave it to me before he died. Told me it belonged to a man who builds things with his own hands. I wore it every day while I worked. Let me back up and explain how I got here. 2 years ago, I dropped out of college. My parents nearly disowned me then. I was 3 semesters into a business degree I hated, sitting in classrooms learning theories that felt completely disconnected from anything real. Meanwhile, I'd been fixing motorcycles since I was 15. Started with my own beat-up Suzuki, then friends' bikes, then friends of friends. By the time I was 19, I was getting calls from people 3 counties over asking if I could do custom work. So I left school. My father didn't speak to me for 2 months. My mother cried every Sunday dinner. My younger brother Trevor, the golden child with his pre-med track and his 4.0 grade average, just looked at me like I'd betrayed the family. But I had a plan. I worked 3 jobs that first year. Mornings I did construction work. Afternoons I delivered auto parts for a supply shop. Nights and weekends I worked at a 24-hour diner, the graveyard shift where the tips were decent because drunk people are generous. Every single paycheck went into tools, not the cheap stuff from the hardware store. Professional-grade equipment. A Miller welder that cost me $3,000. A precision lathe for custom parts. Diagnostic equipment. Torque wrenches calibrated to aerospace standards. Tool chests that cost more than most people's cars. I kept everything in my parents' shed. That was the deal. I was still living at home, saving money for shop space. The shed was climate-controlled, secure, and had electricity I'd run out there myself. My father said I could use it as long as I paid $200 a month. I paid it, every month, on time. I had a client meeting scheduled for next week. A major one. Guy named Patterson, a collector who'd seen some of my work at a bike show. He wanted a full custom restoration on a 1967 Harley Panhead. We were talking about a $30,000 contract. The deposit alone was $5,000. That money would have been enough to lease a small shop space, get the business properly started. I loaded everything I could carry into my truck. It wasn't much. At 2 a.m, I walked out to the shed one last time. I had to see it. Had to confirm what they'd done. I opened the door and stood there, staring at absolutely nothing. The shed was empty. Not just tool-free. Empty. They hadn't just sold my equipment. They'd sold everything. My custom-built workbench that I'd designed and constructed myself. My prototype parts. My entire physical portfolio of designs and blueprints that I'd been collecting for years. Reference manuals. The rolling cart I'd modified. The shop vac. The floor mats. Everything. I'd thought they sold $15,000 worth of tools. Looking at that empty shed, I realized they'd sold closer to $25,000, maybe more. Some of those prototype parts were irreplaceable. Custom work I'd done to prove concepts for future builds. I stood there for maybe 10 minutes, just breathing, trying to process it. Then I walked back to the house, took a piece of paper from the kitchen notepad, and wrote 6 words. You wanted the tools. You can have the shed too. I left it on the kitchen table and drove away. My best friend Marcus lived in an apartment complex about 20 minutes away. I texted him from the driveway. He came down in his bathrobe, took one look at my face, and said I could stay as long as I needed. Didn't ask questions. Just helped me carry my stuff up to his second-floor unit and pointed at the couch. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in the dark, listening to Marcus snore in the next room, thinking about everything I'd lost, and wondering how I was going to explain this to Patterson. 3 days passed in a blur. I spent them on Marcus's couch, paralyzed by the weight of what had happened. Marcus worked during the day as an electrician, so I had the apartment to myself. I should have been making calls, figuring out a plan. Instead, I just sat there, refreshing my bank account on my phone like the number might magically change. $317. That's what I had to my name. The client meeting arrived on Thursday. I'd been dreading it, but I couldn't cancel. Patterson had already paid the deposit. I'd cashed that check 2 weeks ago. $5,000 that I'd immediately put towards securing shop space, paying first and last month's rent on a small garage bay across town. The landlord had my money. The lease started in 2 weeks. I met Patterson at a coffee shop downtown. He was exactly what I expected. Early 60s, silver hair, expensive watch, driving a pristine 1970 Corvette. The kind of man who'd made his fortune in something practical like manufacturing or real estate, and now spent it on toys that made him feel alive. He ordered us both coffee and got straight to business. So, Hale, you ready to start on my panhead? I've got the bike in storage, can have it delivered to your shop this weekend. I had to force the words out. Mr. Patterson, we have a problem. His expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. Go on. I explained everything. My parents, the tools, the empty shed. I left out the emotional parts and stuck to facts. When I finished, he sat back in his chair and was quiet for a long moment. That's a tough break, son, he finally said. I appreciate your honesty. I can fix this, I said quickly. Give me 1 week. I'll rent equipment, find a way to make it work. The bike will be done on time, I promise. He shook his head slowly. Hale, I believe you're talented. I've seen your work, but I need reliability. I've got this bike entered in a show in 6 weeks. I can't afford delays or uncertainties. 1 week, I repeated. That's all I need. He stood up, pulled his wallet out, and dropped a 20 on the table for the coffee. I'll think about it. You'll hear from me by tomorrow. I knew what that meant. Tomorrow he'd tell me he found someone else. Marcus lent me $2,000 that night, cleaned out his savings account, and handed me a check without me even asking. You'll pay me back, he said. I know you're good for it. But $2,000 wasn't enough. I spent Friday calling every equipment rental place within 50 miles. The costs were astronomical. To rent the specialized equipment I needed for the panhead restoration, I was looking at $3,000 a week minimum. That would eat every penny of profit and then some. I broke down and called my parents Friday afternoon. My mother answered on the 3rd ring. Hale. Her voice was tight. Your father is very upset. Where did you sell the tools, Mom? We sold them to a liquidation dealer. I don't remember the name. Your father handled it. I need that name. I want to buy them back. Hale, that money is gone. It went to Trevor's education. We can't just put Dad on the phone. There was a long pause, muffled conversation. Then my father's voice came on. Hard, defensive. What do you want? The name of the dealer who bought my equipment. Why? So you can keep playing with motorcycles? Hale, it's time you grew up and got a real job. This hobby of yours? It's not a hobby. It's my career. Those tools were worth $25,000. He laughed. Actually laughed. 25? We got 12 for the lot. The dealer said that was fair market for used equipment. My stomach dropped. They'd been massively lowballed. Someone had seen them coming from a mile away. 12,000, I repeated. And you just gave it to Trevor? For his tuition? Yes. It's already been paid. The money's gone, Hale. You need to accept that and move forward. Did Trevor ask for this? Silence. Dad. Did Trevor want you to sell my tools? My mother's voice came through, distant, like she was talking away from the phone. He said, no, we shouldn't do it, but we know what's best. The line went dead. My father had hung up. I sat there holding the phone, processing what I'd just learned. Trevor hadn't wanted this. My parents had done it anyway. They'd taken it upon themselves to decide my future wasn't worth investing in. I called Trevor's cell. It went straight to voicemail. I left a message asking him to call me back. Patterson's call came an hour later. I could hear it in his voice before he said the words. Hale, I'm sorry. I found another builder who can start immediately. He's got the shop space, the equipment, everything ready to go. Mr. Patterson, I want to return your deposit, but according to the contract terms, I can't. You signed an agreement that the deposit was non-refundable if you couldn't fulfill the project. I'm going to need that $5,000 back within 7 days, or my lawyer will have to get involved. The contract. I'd signed it without reading carefully, because I was so excited to land the job. Standard contractor terms, I'd assumed. Apparently not. 7 days, I said. I'm sorry, son. I really am. I think you've got talent. But talent without tools is just potential, and potential doesn't build motorcycles. He hung up. I had $317 in my account, and 7 days to come up with $5,000 more. Marcus found me sitting on his apartment balcony that night, staring at nothing. He handed me a beer and sat down next to me. I made some calls, he said. Asked around about your tools. Guy I know, his cousin works at a place called Bridgewater Equipment Exchange. Says they just got in a huge lot of motorcycle shop equipment about a week ago. High-end stuff. I looked at him. Where? 40 miles north. Place is right off Highway 77. I was in my truck before sunrise the next morning. Bridgewater Equipment Exchange was a massive warehouse that dealt in used industrial equipment, forklifts, and CNC machines in the front. Smaller stuff toward the back. I found my tools in the specialty section. My exact tool chests, my welder, my lathe. Everything tagged with new price stickers. $8,000 for the toolbox set I'd paid $11,000 for, $6,000 for the welder I'd bought for $3,000. They were marking everything up, selling my equipment for more than I'd paid new. The owner, a thick guy named Roy with grease under his fingernails, wouldn't budge. Look, kid, I paid fair price for this equipment. I'm running a business. You want it back, you pay what the sticker says. I built this business from nothing, I said. These tools are my life. Then you should have kept better track of them. I spent an hour trying to negotiate. Payment plans, trades, anything. Roy wasn't interested. I drove back to Marcus's place feeling like I was drowning. That's when Trevor finally called me back. Trevor sounded tired. I just saw your message. I'm sorry, Hale. I swear I didn't know they were going to do this. I know, I said. Mom let it slip. You told them not to. I told them it was wrong. I told them those tools were important to you. Dad said, I didn't understand, that it was about teaching you responsibility. Responsibility. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. They sold $25,000 of my equipment for $12,000 to some dealer, and now he's reselling it for more than I paid originally. That's the responsibility lesson? Trevor was quiet for a moment. What are you going to do? I explained the situation. The deposit, the deadline, the lawsuit threat. When I finished, he didn't hesitate. I have $3,000 saved, he said. From my summer job and some scholarship money I didn't use. It's yours. Trevor, no. That's your money. You're my brother. Besides, this is partially my fault. They said it was for me. I should have fought harder. You're 19. You can't go against Mom and Dad. Neither could you, apparently. And you're 21. Fair point. We met for lunch that afternoon at a diner halfway between his campus and Marcus's apartment. Trevor had our mother's eyes and our father's jawline, but none of Dad's hardness. He looked younger than 19. Still had that college kid softness that hard work hadn't beaten out of him yet. He handed me a cashier's check for $3,000. "I can't take this," I said. "You don't have a choice. You need it." I took it. We talked for 2 hours. Really talked, for the first time since I'd dropped out of school. He told me about the pressure he felt, the constant expectations, pre-med because Dad wanted it, not because Trevor did. He wasn't even sure he wanted to be a doctor. "Then why are you doing it?" I asked. "Because someone in the family has to make them proud." That hit harder than it should have. When I got back to Marcus's place, he was on the couch with his laptop open, looking serious. "I found something," he said. "You're not going to like it." He turned the screen toward me. Facebook page. A photo of a brand new fishing boat, gleaming white hull, still had the dealer tags hanging from the rails. Posted 6 days ago by my father with the caption, "Finally got my dream boat. 30 years of hard work pays off." The boat had to be worth $15,000 minimum. "Check the date," Marcus said. "The day after my birthday. 2 days after they sold my tools." He said the money went to Trevor's tuition. I said slowly. Marcus pulled up another tab, Trevor's college account portal. Marcus wasn't supposed to have access to this, but he'd helped Trevor set up his laptop last year and apparently kept the password. "Trevor's tuition is covered by scholarships and a small federal loan," Marcus said. "He doesn't owe anything. Hasn't owed anything all year." They'd lied. My father had sold my future to buy himself a toy. I called Trevor immediately. Told him what we'd found. "That doesn't make sense," Trevor said. "They told me the money was going toward my spring semester fees." "Your spring semester is already paid for. I'm looking at your account right now." "Oh my God." His voice went hollow. "I'm coming over." Trevor arrived an hour later. We showed him everything. The Facebook post, the account statement. He got paler with each piece of evidence. "I'm going to call them," he said. "Don't." I grabbed his arm. "Not yet. We need to think about this." But it was too late. Trevor was already dialing. I heard it ring twice before my father picked up. "I need you to explain something," Trevor said, his voice shaking. "My tuition is already paid. It was paid in September. Where did Hale's money actually go?" Muffled voices on the other end. My father saying something sharp. My mother in the background. "You bought a boat." Trevor's hands were trembling. "You sold his entire future for a boat." More arguing from the other end. No, I'm not coming home tonight. Maybe not ever." Trevor hung up and looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I'm so sorry." The deadline was in 5 days. Even with Trevor's $3,000 and Marcus's $2,000, I was still short. I needed $5,000 total. Had $500 in my account now, plus $5,000 in combined loans from my friends. Still short. I worked construction that week. Double shifts, every day. Back-breaking work, laying foundation for a new office building. 12-hour days in the cold. My hands raw despite gloves. Made another $600. Still short. Marcus started a crowdfunding campaign without telling me. "Your story needs to be told," he said when I found out. Posted it everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, local community pages. Explained what happened. People were sympathetic. Donations trickled in. $20 here, $50 there. By day 6, we'd raised $800. Still short. The deadline was tomorrow at 5 p.m. I was $1,100 away from avoiding a lawsuit I couldn't afford to fight. That's when Marcus came home from work with information that changed everything. "I was doing some electrical work at the marina today," he said. "Saw your dad's boat. Nice rig. Talked to the dockmaster. You know what boat slips cost there monthly?" I shook my head. $300. Plus insurance, plus maintenance. That's a $400 a month hobby minimum. So I got curious. Looked up the boat registration, public records. It's registered in your father's name. Bought from Clearwater Marine Sales 8 days ago for exactly $14,900. The math clicked into place. They'd sold my stuff for $12,000. The boat cost just under $15,000. They'd taken my money and added $3,000 of their own to buy it. There's more, Marcus said. The dockmaster mentioned your dad comes by with his buddy Roy pretty often. They go fishing together. Roy, I repeated. Like Roy? From Bridgewater Equipment Exchange? Marcus nodded slowly. Roy, the guy who owned the shop that was reselling my tools, my father's fishing buddy. This wasn't just opportunistic. It was planned. My father and Roy had conspired to steal my equipment, sell it to Roy's shop for below market value, and now Roy was marking it up to resell at a profit. They were probably splitting the difference. That's fraud. That's theft. That's a dozen different crimes wrapped up in family betrayal. I sat down hard on the couch. We need proof. We have proof, Marcus said. Public records show the boat purchase. The timing matches. Your dad's Facebook post. Trevor's tuition records showing the money wasn't needed. My buddy at Bridgewater can testify to when the equipment arrived. Mrs. Harrison next door saw the whole thing. She told me yesterday she'd be willing to talk. Mrs. Harrison, the elderly woman who'd lived next to my parents for 20 years. She'd watched me grow up, always had cookies when I came by. I drove to my parents' house that night. Not to talk to them, to talk to her. Mrs. Harrison invited me in, made tea, and told me everything she'd witnessed. She'd heard the argument on my birthday, heard my father talking to Roy on the phone 2 days before, arranging the sale, seen the truck come to haul everything away. I wanted to call you, she said, but I didn't have your number, and I thought maybe it was family business, not my place. But what they did wasn't right, Hale. That was stealing, plain and simple. She agreed to write a statement, signed, and dated it. I had evidence. A case. Maybe even a criminal case. But I didn't have money. The deadline was in 18 hours. I met with a lawyer that night. Free consultation, 20 minutes. Explained everything. The lawyer, a middle-aged woman named Dorothy Shepard, listened carefully and took notes. You have a case, she said when I finished. Civil, definitely. Possibly criminal depending on how deep the conspiracy goes. But litigation takes time, months, maybe years, and it's expensive. A case like this, you're looking at $10,000 minimum in legal fees, probably more. I don't have $10,000. I don't have $1,000. Then my honest advice is to settle this privately if you can. Confront them. Negotiate a return of your property or compensation. If they refuse, you can consider small claims court for the equipment value, but that has a $10,000 limit in this state and won't cover everything. What about the fraud? The conspiracy with Roy? Hard to prove without Roy confessing or your father admitting it. It's your word against theirs unless you have recordings or written evidence of the arrangement. I left her office with no clearer path forward. It was 9 p.m., 20 hours until the deadline. Trevor called me at 10. I'm going to do something. Don't try to stop me. What are you talking about? I'm fixing this. That boat is registered to Dad, but the title is in his office. I know where he keeps it. I'm going to take it to the marina right now and sell it. There's a dealer there who buys boats same day. I called already. Trevor, that's theft. So was what they did to you. That'll land you in jail. Maybe. But you won't lose everything. The boat's worth $15,000. That covers your debt and then some. No. Trevor, no. I'm not letting you. He'd already hung up. I tried calling back. Straight to voicemail. I tried calling my parents' house. No answer. Marcus drove me to the marina. We got there at 11 p.m. to find police lights. My father was there, red-faced and shouting. 2 cops taking statements. Trevor in handcuffs standing next to a patrol car, looking small and scared. The boat was still on its trailer in the parking lot. The dealer Trevor had contacted stood off to the side, arms crossed, clearly wanting nothing to do with this mess. My father saw me and his face twisted. This is your fault. You put him up to this. I didn't know he was going to do this. He's going to jail because of you. Because you couldn't just accept our decision and move on like an adult." One of the officers walked over to me. "You, Hale?" "Yes, sir. Your brother says he was trying to sell this boat to get money for you. Says the boat was purchased with money stolen from you. That true?" "Yes, sir. I have documentation." My father started yelling again. The officer held up a hand. "Sir, I'm going to need you to calm down." The officer took my statement. I showed him everything. The timeline, Mrs. Harrison's written testimony, Trevor's tuition records on Marcus's phone, the Facebook post, the boat purchase date. The officer looked at my father. "Is it true the boat was purchased with money obtained from selling his property?" "That property was stored on my land. He was living in my house. I had a right." "That's not what I asked. Did you sell his property and use the money to buy this boat?" My father's jaw worked. "It's complicated." "It's not complicated," Trevor said from the patrol car. "They stole from him, and I was trying to make it right." The officer looked tired. "This is a civil matter. The theft charge stands because the boat is registered to you, sir, and your son took it without permission. But the underlying dispute about the tools, that's not something we can sort out here." They took Trevor to county jail. Bail was set at $2,000. Money I didn't have. I sat in the marina parking lot at midnight, watching my father drive away with my mother. The boat was still there, evidence in a crime now. Couldn't be sold even if I wanted to. Tomorrow at 5 p.m., the lawsuit would be filed. Trevor was in jail. My business was dead. My family was destroyed, and I had absolutely no idea what to do next. I spent that night in my truck in the marina parking lot. Couldn't face going back to Marcus's apartment. Couldn't face anything. Just sat there watching the moon reflect off the water, thinking about how completely everything had fallen apart. Marcus found me at 6 a.m., brought coffee and breakfast sandwiches from the gas station. "Trevor made bail," he said. "How?" "I didn't have the money. His roommate's parents posted it. They're lawyers, apparently. Heard what happened and made some calls. Small mercy in an ocean of disaster." "There's something else," Marcus said carefully. "Something I did. You're going to be mad." "What did you do?" He pulled out his phone and showed me. A video on Facebook. Already had 10,000 views. It was the recording from my phone. The conversation with my father, where he'd admitted to selling the tools, admitted the money went to the boat, admitted it was about teaching me a lesson. "You posted that." "I posted that. Without asking me. You weren't in a state to ask. And we're out of time, Hale. That lawsuit gets filed in 11 hours. This is the only weapon we have left." I should have been angry. Should have felt violated. Instead, I just felt numb. How many people have seen it? 10,000 in 6 hours. It's going viral. Local community pages are sharing it. People are pissed. By 8 a.m., it was at 20,000 views. By 10 a.m., 50,000. People were commenting, sharing, tagging local news stations. My father's employer, First Community Bank, posted a terse statement on their page. "We are aware of a situation involving one of our employees and are looking into the matter." My mother's phone number was public, listed in the directory. People were calling, some supportive, some nasty. She'd shut off her phone by noon. I got a call at 1 p.m. from a number I didn't recognize. "Hale? This is Christine Park from Channel 7 News. We'd like to interview you about what happened with your family. Would you be available this afternoon?" A news crew. At Marcus's apartment. 3 p.m. The reporter, Christine, was professional and direct. Asked me to explain everything from the beginning. I told her the whole story. Showed the evidence. She interviewed Marcus. Called Mrs. Harrison, who agreed to an on-camera statement. "This is going to air on the 6 o'clock news tonight," Christine said. "And honestly, it's probably going to blow up bigger than the Facebook post. Are you ready for that?" "I don't think I'm ready for any of this. Your father is going to face consequences. Public consequences. Your mother, too. Once this airs, There's no taking it back. I thought about that. Thought about my father's face at the marina. My mother's tears. 21 years of complicated family history. They stole from me, I said. They lied to my brother. They conspired with someone to commit fraud. I didn't do this to them. They did it to themselves. The interview aired at 6. I watched it at a sports bar with Marcus and Trevor, who'd been released that afternoon with a court date set for next month. The lawyer handling his case said the charges would probably be dropped given the circumstances, but it would take time. The segment was 8 minutes long, detailed, damning. They showed my father's Facebook post of the boat, showed the timeline, interviewed Mrs. Harrison on camera. She was devastating, a sweet, elderly woman talking about watching them steal from their own son. Trevor's phone started ringing immediately. Friends, relatives, people from church. Everyone wanted to know if it was true. My father's phone was off. My mother's too. By 8 p.m., First Community Bank had posted another statement. After reviewing the matter, we have placed the employee in question on administrative leave pending a full investigation. My father had lost his job, or was about to. At 9 p.m., I got a call from a number with a local area code. Hail, this is Bill Patterson, the client. The lawsuit. It all came crashing back. Mr. Patterson, I saw the news. I had no idea what you were dealing with. I'm sorry I couldn't complete the job. I understand you need to move forward with the lawsuit. That's why I'm calling. I'm dropping it. I couldn't speak for a moment. I built my business from nothing, Patterson continued. Came from a family that had nothing, gave me nothing. Everything I have, I earned. I see myself in you, son. What your parents did is unconscionable. I'm not going to add to your burden. Sir, I signed a contract. Contracts can be torn up. Consider it done. But I want to propose something else. A partnership. I'll front the money for you to buy back your tools and lease shop space. You build my bike and any other projects that come your way. We split profits 60-40, my favor, until you've paid back the investment. After that, we renegotiate to something more equitable. What do you say? It was a lifeline I hadn't seen coming. Why would you do this? Because talent like yours shouldn't be wasted because of bad parents. And because I believe you'll make me money. This isn't charity, Hale. It's business. But it's fair business. Yes, I said. Yes, absolutely yes. Good. I'll have my lawyer draw up papers. We'll meet Monday to sign. In the meantime, get me a list of what equipment you need. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone. What just happened? Trevor asked. I think my business just got saved. The next 2 days were chaos. The news story was picked up by regional outlets. The Facebook post hit 200,000 views. People in town recognized me at the gas station, at the grocery store. Most were supportive. Some thought I was ungrateful, that family should forgive anything. My father tried calling once. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. His voice was tight, controlled. You've made your point. You've humiliated us publicly. Cost me my job. Your mother can't show her face at church. I hope you're satisfied. No apology. No acknowledgement of what they'd done. Just anger that there were consequences. 3 other people contacted me over the weekend. 2 were custom bike enthusiasts who'd seen the news and wanted to commission work. The 3rd was a reality TV producer who wanted to film my comeback story. I ignored that one. By Monday morning, I had enough deposits and commitments to keep busy for 6 months once I got set up. Patterson and I met at a lawyer's office. The contract was fair, more than fair. 60-40 wasn't great, but considering he was fronting probably $30,000 to get me started, it was reasonable. And it had a clear buyout structure. Once I'd paid back his investment plus 20%, we'd move to a 50-50 partnership, or I could buy him out entirely. I signed. Tuesday morning, I drove to Bridgewater Equipment Exchange. Roy saw me coming, and his face went pale. The shop is closed for inventory, he said quickly. Your website says you're open until 5. Private inventory. You need to leave. I'm here to buy my tools back. They're not for sale. Everything in here is for sale. That's the point of your business. A crowd was starting to gather. Other customers. People with phones out. Probably recognizing me from the news. Roy's jaw clenched. Fine. But I'm not negotiating. Prices are as marked. I wasn't planning to negotiate. With Patterson's money, I bought back everything that was mine. The toolboxes, the welder, the lathe, everything they hadn't already sold to someone else. It cost me $12,000, about half what they were asking, because Roy suddenly got very motivated to make the sale when people started filming and posting about it online. I rented a truck and moved everything to the shop space I'd leased. Small garage bay in an industrial complex. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Well, leased, but mine to work in. Trevor helped me move equipment. So did Marcus. By Wednesday evening, I had a functional shop again. What now? Trevor asked, looking around at the space. Now I build motorcycles. Patterson's Harley arrived Thursday morning. The bike was beautiful even in its rough state. Original frame, engine that needed rebuilding, every chrome piece pitted with age. It was going to be months of work. I didn't mind. I had months. 2 weeks into the restoration work, I was starting to believe things might actually be okay. The Harley was coming together. I'd stripped it down to the frame, cataloged every part, started sourcing reproduction pieces for what couldn't be saved. Patterson stopped by every few days to check progress. He seemed pleased. Trevor had moved in with Marcus and me. The apartment was cramped with 3 of us, but we made it work. He'd taken a gap semester from school. Said he needed time to figure out what he actually wanted, not what our parents wanted. He'd been helping at the shop after his part-time job at a bookstore, learning the basics, mostly just organizing and cleaning, but he was eager. I should have known it was too easy. The call came on a Tuesday morning. I was at the shop early, coffee in hand, about to start welding a custom exhaust mount. Mr. Hale, this is David Chen from Patterson Industries. Wait. I couldn't use Chen. Let me restart. Mr. Hale, this is David Foster from Patterson Industries. I'm Mr. Patterson's Chief Financial Officer. I'm calling to inform you that Mr. Patterson suffered a stroke yesterday evening. He's currently in ICU at Mercy General. The coffee cup slipped from my hand. Is he okay? Too early to tell. But I'm calling about the business arrangement. Until Mr. Patterson recovers, or his medical situation is resolved, all his business partnerships are being put on hold. That includes your agreement. What does that mean? It means we're freezing all funds. No more money for equipment or supplies. The existing lease on your shop space will continue for the remaining 6 weeks you've already paid for, but we won't be extending it. And the Harley needs to be returned to storage. I'm 3 weeks into the restoration. I understand. But without Mr. Patterson's direct oversight, the company can't justify continuing speculative investments. Speculative. Like I was a gamble that didn't pay off. What about the contract we signed? The contract has a medical emergency clause. I'm exercising it on Mr. Patterson's behalf. I'll email you the details. He hung up. I stood in my shop, looking at the partially disassembled Harley, at the tools I'd just bought back, at the space I'd just set up, and felt the floor drop out again. Patterson was my only real income. The other commissions I'd gotten were smaller jobs, wouldn't pay the bills, wouldn't cover shop rent after these 6 weeks were up, wouldn't justify keeping all this equipment. I called Marcus. Explained the situation. How much do you need to keep going? $3,000 a month minimum. Rent, utilities, insurance, supplies. I can survive on rice and water, but the shop can't. I can't front that. I'm tapped out from the $2,000 I already lent you. I know. I'm not asking, but I was desperate. So I did something stupid. I called my mother. She answered on the 5th ring. Hale. Her voice was cold. Mom, I need to talk to you and Dad. Your father doesn't want to speak with you. It's important. You've said enough. You've done enough. Do you know what you've put us through? Your father had to take a job at a hardware store making $12 an hour. We might lose the house. And Trevor won't return our calls. You destroyed this family. I didn't destroy anything. You and Dad, we did what parents do. We made a hard choice for the good of everyone. You were being selfish, chasing a fantasy. We tried to guide you back to reality. By stealing from me. It wasn't stealing. Those tools were in our shed. You were living in our house. We had every right. No, you didn't. And you know it. That's why you can't show your face at church. Because everyone else knows it too. She was crying now. Why are you calling? I wanted you to know that Patterson had a stroke. The man who was helping me rebuild. He's in ICU. His company canceled our contract. I'm losing everything again. And you want us to feel sorry for you? No. I want you to understand that your choices have consequences. Not just for you, for everyone. I hung up before she could respond. That night, Trevor came home from his bookstore shift to find me staring at spreadsheets on my laptop. How bad? He asked. I have 6 weeks of shop rent paid. After that, I can't afford to keep it. And without Patterson's backing, I can't justify holding on to all this equipment. I'll have to sell most of it just to pay back Marcus and cover debts. So you're giving up? I'm being realistic. That's what Dad said you'd do. He told me once that you'd never make it because you quit when things get hard. I didn't quit college. I left to pursue something real. And now you're quitting that. I'm not quitting. I'm out of options. Trevor pulled out his phone, started typing. What are you doing? Starting a new crowdfunding campaign. A real one this time. With the full story, updates on your progress with the Harley, everything. People responded before. They'll respond again. Trevor, that raised $800 last time. I need thousands. Then we ask for thousands. He worked on it all night. Created a full campaign page. Photos of the shop. The Harley in progress. My story laid out in detail. He even made a video of me talking about what happened and what I was trying to build. We launched it Wednesday morning. Goal: $15,000 to cover 3 months of expenses and give me time to build up a client base. By Wednesday night, we'd raised $400. By Friday, $800. By the following Monday, $1,200. It wasn't enough. Wasn't close to enough. I got an email Tuesday morning from the landlord. The shop's lease was up in 4 weeks. Did I want to renew? If so, he needed first and last month, plus a security deposit. $7,000 total by the end of the month. I didn't have $7,000. I'd barely scraped together enough to pay back Marcus the $2,000 he'd lent me. Wednesday afternoon, I was in the shop alone, trying to figure out what to do with Patterson's Harley. His CFO wanted it returned, but to where? Patterson was still unconscious. No one knew if he'd wake up. My phone rang. Unknown number. This is Hale. Hale, this is Dr. Andrea Stone. I'm a friend of Bill Patterson's. He asked me to call you if anything ever happened to him. Is he okay? He woke up this morning. He's weak. Speech is difficult. But he's conscious. He asked about his bike. I told him the situation. He wants you to finish it. His CFO said. Bill owns 51% of Patterson Industries. What he says goes. He's sending a revised contract and a check for $10,000. Keep working. He said to tell you, talent doesn't quit just because things get hard. The same words Trevor had thrown at me. The check arrived Friday. I deposited it Saturday morning. Paid the shop rent in full. Bought supplies. Got back to work. The crowdfunding campaign stalled at $2,000. Not nothing, but not enough to matter long term. I had 3 months, maybe 4, to build enough business to sustain myself after Patterson's money ran out. Then my father showed up at the shop. It was a Tuesday evening, nearly 8 p.m. I was working late, alone, the welding arc casting blue shadows across the concrete floor. I was so focused on the exhaust manifold I was fabricating that I didn't hear the shop door open. Hale. I killed the welder and flipped up my helmet. My father stood in the doorway, backlit by the parking lot lights. He looked older than I remembered. thinner. The expensive clothes he used to wear for the bank had been replaced with a flannel shirt and work jeans. "How did you find me?" Asked around. "People in town know where you're working." I set the torch down carefully. "What do you want?" He stepped inside, hands in his pockets, looking around at the shop, at the equipment. The half-built Harley on the lift. "This is what you wanted? All of this?" "Yes." "Was it worth it? Destroying your family?" "I didn't destroy anything. You did that." I made a mistake. The words came out hard, like he was forcing them through gritted teeth. "I thought I was teaching you responsibility. I thought you needed to understand that family comes before personal dreams. So you stole from me." "I didn't steal. I made a parental decision about property stored on my land." A judge wouldn't see it that way. Neither did the court of public opinion. He flinched. "That video. Did you post that?" "Marcus did." "Without your permission?" I didn't answer. "Your mother is devastated," he said. "She can't go anywhere without people recognizing her. Church asked her to step back from her volunteer positions. She cries every night. And you want me to feel guilty about that? I want you to understand, there are consequences to your actions." I laughed. Actually laughed. "Consequences to my actions? Dad, you sold my tools without permission, lied about where the money went, used it to buy yourself a boat, and conspired with your buddy Roy to commit fraud. Those are your actions. What happened to you and Mom? Those are your consequences. It wasn't supposed to go this far." "What wasn't? The theft? The lies? Or getting caught?" He was silent for a long moment, looking at the Harley, at me. His jaw worked like he was chewing on words he couldn't quite spit out. "I spent 30 years at that bank," he finally said. "Worked my way up from teller to assistant manager. Provided for my family. Put a roof over your head. Food on the table. I did everything I was supposed to do." "I know. And you threw it all away. Dropped out of college. Refused a real career. Spent every dollar on tools and motorcycles, like a teenager who couldn't grow up. That's how you saw it. That's how it was. And I was tired, Hale. Tired of watching you waste your potential. Tired of defending you to relatives, to your mother, to Trevor. Everyone kept asking what was wrong with our oldest son. Why couldn't he just be normal? So you decided to force me to be normal by destroying what I'd built. I thought it would work. I thought if you lost the tools, you'd realize it was time to move on. Get a stable job. Maybe go back to school. Instead, I left. Instead, you left." He nodded slowly. "And took Trevor with you. Trevor made his own choice. He's 19. He doesn't know what he wants. He knows he doesn't want to be you." That landed like a physical blow. My father actually stepped back. "That's not fair," he said quietly. "Fair?" I set my welding helmet on the workbench. "You want to talk about fair? You stole $25,000 worth of equipment I'd spent 3 years collecting. You sold it for less than half that value to your buddy so he could resell it at a profit. You lied to Trevor about where the money was going. You lied to me. You bought yourself a toy and then acted like you were teaching me responsibility. Where's the fairness in any of that? You made a mistake. You made a lot of mistakes. And I'm not interested in making you feel better about them." He looked around the shop again. "How are you affording all this?" "A businessman saw potential in me. Decided to invest. Patterson. I heard about his stroke. He woke up. He's recovering. And if he hadn't? What then? Then I would have figured it out. You can't always figure it out, Hale. Sometimes you have to accept help. Sometimes you have to swallow your pride and come home. Is that why you're here? To invite me home? Your mother wants to try again. Family counseling. Work through this. Work through you stealing from me? Work through our communication issues, our different perspectives on responsibility and success." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "You're reframing theft as a communication issue?" "I'm trying to find a path forward. Here's a path forward." I picked up the torch again. "You leave. You don't come back. And when I'm ready to talk to you again, if I'm ever ready, I'll call. Hale, get out of my shop." He stood there for another moment, then turned and walked out. I heard his truck start in the parking lot, heard him drive away. I went back to welding, but my hands were shaking too hard. I had to stop after 5 minutes before I ruined the part I was working on. Trevor called 20 minutes later. Dad just called me. Said he went to see you. Yeah. How'd that go? About how you'd expect. He said you kicked him out. I did. Good. He doesn't get to just show up and expect forgiveness because he's uncomfortable with consequences. I smiled, despite myself. When did you get so wise? I've been talking to a therapist. The lawyer who posted my bail recommended someone. It's been helpful. That's good. Hale, there's something else. Something I need to tell you about Mom and Dad. My stomach dropped. What? They're getting divorced. Mom filed papers yesterday. Dad doesn't know I know, but Mom's sister told me. The Facebook video, the news coverage, everything that came out. It broke something between them. Mom's been defending him for years, apparently. To relatives, to friends. But she can't anymore. Not after seeing how the community reacted. That's not on me. I know. And Mom knows too, I think. But it's happening. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet shop for a long time. The Harley was nearly half done now. Another 6 weeks, and it would be finished. Beautiful. Exactly what Patterson wanted. I'd lost my parents. Probably forever. But I'd gained something else. Something I couldn't name yet, but could feel taking shape like metal under the torch. The next morning, I got an email from Christine Park, the news reporter who'd covered my story. She wanted to do a follow-up piece. Life after the betrayal, she was calling it. Show me working in the shop. Talk about Patterson's investment. The crowdfunding campaign. I said yes. The segment aired a week later. 5 minutes of me in the shop, explaining the Harley restoration, talking about building a business on my own terms. It was positive, hopeful. Within 2 days, I got 7 new client inquiries. Real ones, not just people kicking tires. 3 vintage restorations, 2 custom builds, and 2 performance upgrades on modern bikes. More money than I could handle alone. I'd need help. I hired Trevor. Not full-time, not yet. But 15 hours a week, learning the trade properly. He was good with his hands, patient, detail-oriented. He'd never be a master fabricator, but he could handle prep work, assembly, the methodical tasks that ate up my time. Patterson came to visit 2 months after his stroke. He was in a wheelchair, speech still slurred, but his mind was sharp. He looked at the Harley, nearly complete now, and nodded. Good work, he managed to say. Another 2 weeks, I told him. He stayed for an hour, watching me work. Before he left, he handed me a revised contract. The partnership terms had changed. 50-50 split, effective immediately. He'd made back his investment through other business ventures. Didn't need the extra percentage from my work. Partners? He asked, extending his hand. I shook it. Partners. The Harley was finished 3 weeks later. We unveiled it at a local bike show. Gleaming chrome, custom paint in deep blue, with gold leaf detailing. Every mechanical element rebuilt to better than factory specs. Patterson rode it onto the show floor, his son helping him balance, and got a standing ovation. We won Best in Show. The trophy sat on my workbench for months after that. Reminder of what was possible when someone believed in you. My father never came back to the shop. My mother sent one email, months later, saying she was sorry for everything that happened and hoped I was doing well. I didn't respond. Wasn't ready. Maybe someday. Maybe never. I was okay with both possibilities. 6 months after my 21st birthday, after everything collapsed and somehow rebuilt itself, I stood in my shop on a Saturday morning, looking at a problem I'd never expected to have. Too much work. The commission board was full. 12 bikes in various stages of build. Trevor worked full-time now. Had taken a gap year officially. He was getting good, really good. Picked up welding faster than I had. We'd hired another helper too, a kid named Austin fresh out of trade school, eager and talented. The shop itself had expanded. When the unit next door became available, Patterson fronted the money to break through the wall and double our space. We were still paying him back, but the profit margin was healthy, growing, sustainable. I was making it work. My 22nd birthday arrived on a Tuesday. Nothing special planned. Workday like any other. But around noon, Trevor and Marcus showed up with takeout and a small box wrapped in brown paper. "You didn't have to do this," I said. "Shut up and open it," Trevor said. Inside was a custom toolbox. Smaller than my main units, but beautiful. Hand-engraved with my name and a date. The day I'd left home. "Your future, your terms," the inscription read. "Trevor made the engraving," Marcus said. "I just helped with the box design." I didn't know what to say. Just stood there looking at it. This physical representation of everything I'd lost and fought to rebuild. "There's more," Trevor said. He pulled out his phone and showed me the screen. "I've been accepted to mechanical engineering at State. Start in the fall. Figure if I'm going to help run this business someday, I should actually understand the theory behind what we're building. You don't have to do this for me. I'm not. I'm doing it for me. Took me 20 years to figure out what I actually wanted. Better late than never." We ate lunch together in the shop, 3 of us sitting on workbenches, talking about nothing important, just existing in the space we'd created. Patterson stopped by that afternoon. He was walking now, slowly, with a cane, but walking. His speech was nearly back to normal. He'd beaten the odds. "Happy birthday, kid," he said, handing me an envelope. Inside was a check for $10,000. "What's this?" "Bonus. We cleared $200,000 in revenue this year. You earned it. We're partners. This should be split." "It is split. That's your half of the bonus pool after expenses. $200,000. From 12 commissions and a handful of smaller jobs. In 1 year, I'd built something real." "There's something else," Patterson said. "I'm retiring. Officially, doctors say I need to slow down. My kids are taking over Patterson Industries, but I want to stay involved here. Silent partner, occasional advisor. If you'll have me, of course. Good. Because I've already told 3 of my collector friends about your work. Expect calls." He left, and I was alone in the shop again. Quiet. Peaceful. Exactly where I wanted to be. My phone rang at 6 p.m. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Hale, it's your father." I considered hanging up. Instead, I said, "What do you want?" "I wanted to say happy birthday, and to tell you something I should have said a long time ago." He paused, and for the first time I could remember, he sounded uncertain. "I was wrong. About the tools. About everything. I thought I was teaching you a lesson, but I was really just trying to control you because I couldn't accept that you'd chosen a different path than I wanted for you." "Okay. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it, but I wanted you to know that I see what you've built. Your mother showed me the article from last month, the bike show, the business. You were right, and I was wrong. Why are you telling me this now?" "Because your mother and I are getting divorced. It'll be final next month. And I've been in therapy, trying to figure out why I did what I did. The therapist says I need to make amends where possible. Not for you, for me. So I can move forward. So this is for you." "Yes, but it's also true. I'm proud of what you've built, Hale. I'm ashamed of what I tried to destroy." I didn't respond for a long moment. Just listened to him breathe on the other end of the line. "I'm not ready to have a relationship with you," I finally said. "I don't know if I ever will be. I understand. But I'm glad you're getting help. And I hope you figure out whatever you need to figure out. Thank you." He hung up. I stood there in my shop, phone in hand, feeling something I hadn't expected to feel. Closure. Not forgiveness. Not reconciliation. But closure. The ability to move forward without the weight of unresolved anger. I thought about my 21st birthday. The moment I'd come home to find my parents smiling, so proud of themselves for what they'd done. The empty shed. The feeling of betrayal so deep it felt like drowning. I'd lost everything that day. Tools, family, future, security. But I'd gained something too. something more valuable than any of it. I'd learned that other people's opinions, even people you love, don't define your worth. That you can survive the worst thing you can imagine and come out stronger. That chosen family matters as much as blood family, sometimes more. I'd learned that respect is earned, not owed. That forgiveness is a gift you give yourself, not something you're obligated to offer. That boundaries are healthy, necessary, vital. Most importantly, I'd learned that my future was mine to build. Not my parents to sell, not anyone's to control. My father thought he was teaching me about family priorities. He was right, just not in the way he intended. I learned that family should support your dreams, not destroy them. That real love means celebrating someone's success, even when it looks different than what you wanted for them. Some people will try to take from you. Sometimes those people will be the ones who are supposed to protect you. That doesn't mean you're obligated to let them. Respecting your parents doesn't mean letting them destroy your dreams. Honoring your family doesn't mean dishonoring yourself. I don't know if my father will ever fully understand what he did. I don't know if we'll ever have a real relationship again. And I've made peace with that uncertainty. Because for the first time in my life, I'm not waiting for someone else's permission to chase my dreams. I'm not seeking validation from people who can't give it. I'm not measuring my worth by someone else's standards. On my 21st birthday, my parents sold my tools for the family fund. They thought they were teaching me about priorities. They were right, just not the lesson they intended. They taught me that the only person responsible for your future is you, that the only approval you need is your own, that sometimes the family you build matters more than the family you're born into. I look around my shop now, at the bikes in progress, at Trevor welding in the corner, Austin organizing parts, at the trophy from the bike show sitting on my workbench, at the name on the window, Hale Custom Works, built on my own terms. This is what success looks like. Not permission, not approval, not validation from people who can't see your vision. Just you, your work, and the unshakable knowledge that you built something real with your own two hands. That's a future nobody can sell. I want to ask you something. Have you ever had someone close to you, maybe family, maybe a friend, try to control your future because they thought they knew better? How did you handle it? Did you fight back? Or did you try to make peace? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that your dreams are worth fighting for, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who needs to hear that they don't need permission to chase what matters to them. Thank you for listening to my story, for taking the time to hear about the worst birthday of my life and what came after. I hope wherever you are, whatever you're building, you remember that your future belongs to you. Nobody else gets to sell it. Stay strong, keep building, and never let anyone tell you your dreams aren't worth the fight.